My mic is...
Chicka chicka choo! Well, good afternoon, everyone.
Hello, everybody.
Everybody having a good time so far?
Awesome.
Yay!
Sorry we're late.
Yes.
Why are you
fashion again?
Actors late? That never happens.
What?
They had snacks. They had snacks for us.
Especially when there's a group of us. It's like herding cats. Everyone's like, where are we going? Where are we going? Where are we going? This way? No, everyone else is going this way. So we're here now. Hi. Do we want to introduce ourselves? We can go down the line, say who we play. You want to start, Lucy?
So I am Lucy Christian. I have the honor of playing Ochako Uraraka and also Recovery Girl. I am also Recovery Girl.
Oh, yes. I saw that recently and I was like, man.
Julie was Recovery Girl and she moved.
Ah.
And I got to replace her.
Interesting. Hi, everybody. My name is David Metrocon, and I have the honor as well of playing Shoto Todoroki.
Hi, I'm Josh Greeley, and I play Tokoyami Fumikage as well as Dark Shadow.
My name is Alexis Tipton, and I voice Mei Hatsume.
I had a thing in my mouth, but my name is Monica Rial, and I voice Sui, also known as Proppy.
Is that easier with something in, like food in your mouth?
It's actually harder when you've got a mint in your mouth, but it's only a little.
So if you haven't guessed, this is the My Hero panel.
Well, thank you all for coming.
Yeah, great. This has been amazing. So, what should we do, guys?
First, I just want to know, how many of you, this is your first time ever at Metrocon? First time? Wow. Okay, well,
Wait, how many people is it your first convention ever?
Wow.
And one more question, how many people are cosplaying for My Hero? Stand up so we can see how
let's
beautiful you
appreciate
are.
all my heroes.
Yes.
So exciting.
Well,
Are this supposed to be a Q&A or?
I think so.
So
Yeah.
you just get straight to questions, or I want to be actually. What was y'all's process for like getting part of the show? Were you part of the initial auditions, or were you?
Oh, yeah,
like, were you
that's a good question.
Were you cast from the auditions?
Yeah,
or
that's great.
Were you someone who came in late? I feel like everybody up here was part of the main round.
Yeah. Colleen Klinkenbeard was our director, and ever since Simuldub started, auditions are not as common, which is sad. But this was such a highly anticipated show that they made an exception, and I think Colleen insisted on having auditions.
Sure, yeah.
And so she had these auditions, and what did you say?
Thank you, Colleen.
Yes, Colleen, oh my gosh. So yeah, she had, usually when we audition at Funimation, they'll give us like a binder of characters, but it's just the main cast, because a lot of times that's all they have access to in terms of information. And then there was a couple other incidental characters that had special vocal needs, I guess, that she wanted to try to audition for. So when all of us were called in to audition, we all auditioned for several characters of the main cast that were in this book. And there's so many characters in My Hero, so we did not, there are a lot of people that were cast without auditioning because there was just so many. But when I went in, I read for some of the girls, and then she was like, before you leave, I have sides for a character that won't come in until like much later, is my understanding, because at the beginning we didn't have a whole lot of information. And so she gives me the Mei Hatsume sides, and we kind of run through that, and she's like, okay, cool. I think I only had, she told me, she was like, I only had really you in mind for this, but I'm only pulling this out for like specific people. So I was like, okay, cool. So like a year later, she was like, the show was already going, and she's like, do you remember that like weird character I had you read for? And I was like, no. And she showed me a picture and played me my reference, and I was like, oh, this one, finally. So
it happened.
it happened. So it's been really fun, but yeah, that's my story. It's about.
I got to audition, and it was awesome because we don't get to do that as often. And I read for Ochako, but I was like, if this isn't Lucy, then life is just wrong.
It's more of a formality.
I've worked with Lucy for 20 years, so I know exactly, like, that needs to be Lucy. But then I also auditioned for Suyu and Mineta because because what happens is you'll find that in anime, because we all have very interesting voices, or a lot of us, so you tend to use your natural voice a lot. We don't get to do a lot of like cartoony, over-the-top kind of voices.
That's true.
So to me, like Suyu and Mineta were like, hey, this is my opportunity to do weird stuff.
Yeah.
So I auditioned for them, and the funny thing is out of class 1A, Mineta and Suyu were the last two cast, because Colleen wasn't sure if she wanted me as Suyu or Brina as Suyu, and Mineta vice versa.
Nice.
She's like, that. You guys are both cast. I can't decide between the two of you for which role, and so we both kind of just sat there going, doo-doo-doo-doo. So when I came in to record and Suyu popped up on screen, I was like, yes! And then I sent Brina, congratulations! I love Mineta, but not best girl.
It's funny what you said about, we've worked together for so long and we've known each other for, a period of years, that you start to go into auditions and, well, this is gonna be so-and-so, so let me...
Like Ida, everyone was like,
Yeah.
that's Michael
Yeah.
Tatum. Like,
Yeah, like people talked about, I think Cliff always talks about, you read for a lot of different characters when you go in, like everyone said, and Cliff talks about how he was like, well, it's gotta be Justin Briner for Deku. So he like calibrated his Bakugo audition to a Justin Briner's Deku, like just assuming it was already gonna be him, but yeah.
Smart.
I was not, I don't live in Dallas or in the Metroplex, I live in Houston, and so I was not auditioning for new shows. I was just going up to Funimation to mostly do One Piece. And, but I hadn't auditioned for any simuldubs, just because it was too hard to try to get up freely. But I was up there working on One Piece, and they were auditioning for My Hero, and the building was electric.
Yes.
With people auditioning and with the buzz around that show.
Yep.
And so I asked a couple of questions, like, quietly, and then I just walked over to Colleen's door and was like, hi, can I read for this one? And she said, would you? Would you please? And that is how I got.
That's awesome.
I feel super, super fortunate to be a part of this show.
I had a kind of a similar approach as Cliff, like going in, like when you go into auditions, it's it's a good idea, like at the very least, because we're usually allowed to like audition for upwards of 3 characters. They don't want you to pick any more than that. Less is fine, but try to get to at least 3 if you can and show off your range. So I try to do a high, a mid, and a low, basically, and like Bakugo was one, I think. Deku was one, and then Ida, and of course, like everybody else, and I'm just like, this is J. Michael Tatum. Nobody else should play this character. Right. But I wanted to at least show my range off, so like I went in, I did that, I did just like what my thing or whatever, and Colleen had no idea that I had a low range, and then I get to be emo bird.
I didn't
Hot topic bird, baby.
Because there weren't sides for him, were there? Right, for your character.
Yeah, there were
weren't
no sides for him. Yeah.
Mine was this same thing. I went in. I remember though the buzz in that building was like, and Colleen, people talking about, because they were getting information from Japan about what this might be or could be, the buzz around it already, and so it's weird because we audition for as professional actors that are doing things over the years, you just get used to auditioning, and that's most of the time for me. I'm usually always invested in auditions, but there are levels of investment, right? And when it's exciting and that it's a potential title like this, it's like all of a sudden I'm so much more invested than I would have been if I hadn't known that. So then the nerves start to happen, and it's like, oh my God, I really want this. This is weird.
Well, I think it was one of those shows too where it was like all of us were like, I don't care who I am, I just want to be in it.
Yeah,
I want to be associated.
Yeah, and mine, I think I read for all my Bakugo, Deku, and Todoroki, I believe. And but you start thinking like, oh, this is gonna be this person. Let me really give my all for this one. But yeah, it was exciting.
I read for Froppy. I remember that.
I did too.
But then I remember feeling like Colleen was just kind of like she let me read it once and she was like, okay, now so chocolate.
That's how she was with me and Deku. I was like, yeah, let me show you what I can do on that. She was like, yeah, okay, great, but no, that's not gonna happen.
Colleen is very no nonsense. It's great.
She is. She's great. It's great. It really is. And I mean, let's just say right now that you're looking at people up here who some of us have been in the industry for a long time, but all of us have a lot of credits to our name. And that is entirely because people cast us.
Right.
Yeah.
We owe our directors a debt of gratitude.
Completely.
And that is the truth.
And I always say this as much as I can. I mean, I think Colleen's casting ability she's amazing at directing in the booth. Like I trust her implicitly. We have a great collaborative relationship in the booth. But casting this, she's just continued to cast this show like impeccably. It's amazing.
Everybody
Everybody's
feels
great.
like they're in their place,
Right.
like where
Yes.
they should be.
And she really fought for this show because Colleen's also a producer at Funimation,
Right.
so she has a salary job and is working ungodly hours a week being a producer, and so she only directs occasionally. So when Colleen wants to direct, like it's a big deal because she's really good at it and she's amazing at casting. Obviously she knows everything going on behind the scenes because she's a producer, so everything is done correctly and is turned in on time and all those things. But she's also just an incredible actor, and so she is definitely an actor's director when she's wearing that hat. And she fought for she was basically like, hey, so I hear we have this thing called My Hero Academia, and because she was a producer, she was kind of able to get ahead of it because she had more information than anybody else. And I mean, when Colleen says she wants to direct, I think it's like an automatic yes because she's just so good. So
I think this was the first show since Panty and Stocking was the one that she's like, I want to direct that. And then this one, talk about apples and oranges. This one came around and she's like, I want to direct that.
Yes.
She also plays Momo for you guys.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
She's phenomenal. We all love her.
I love her quirk.
I know.
Create quirk.
Yeah.
Do you have any quirks that y'all in the show, like any quirks from other characters that you're just like, oh, that's really cool, even if it's like not one that you personally would want, but just any of the other quirks?
I don't really care for, oh gosh, what is Joel's character, Aoyama?
No,
Oh, Belly Button Boy,
It's not his quirk, but I love that he breaks the fourth wall. Have you guys noticed that? That the whole class will be looking at something and he's looking at the camera. I love that.
So awesome. I mean, have they ever done that in anime? I feel like that's
I don't know.
it's not a common thing.
I'm not. I mean, I know we broke the fourth wall in Ghost Stories, but that wasn't
Oh, right.
intentional.
The Excel saga broke it, but I think they started without one.
That's true. Oh, Excel fun.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
You
Oh, and I
expected
hope
that machine show to break the
right, gosh.
Right.
And I hope everyone knows that we're getting another season.
Yeah.
Yes. That'll be good.
October.
They're making us wait, but it could be worse.
It's gonna be your birthday, is that what you said? When it comes out? Really? Oh, great birthday.
Awesome.
It's like, yay, you're the first time we get to be birthday for
So we want to move on. Anybody
Yeah.
have questions they want to ask?
Questions,
I'm sure
yeah.
we've got several out there, right here in front.
Yeah, so if you can't go back in time to your younger self, what you can say to your younger self?
About acting? About voice
No,
acting?
talk about if you can go back in time then
Uh-huh.
to you see your younger self, what you say about it.
What
Just
would
in
we
general?
think?
What would you say to the younger self, or what would we think of our younger
No,
selves?
talk about
now?
what you say and what you
Like
advise.
advice, yeah.
What advice?
So the question was, what advice, if we could go back in time, what advice would we give to our younger selves?
Yeah.
I would tell my younger self to trust the process and just trust that that there's timing that's working out in my favor, and to just kind of not stress about what is or what isn't, but just trust the process of life.
I would tell my younger self to follow your gut.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't second guess yourself so much. Follow your instincts. They're good. They're there for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of like a combination of what you guys just said. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Good question. Good question.
I would tell my younger self that most people are nice, but sometimes the people you think that are the nicest are not. So be careful. Trust your gut. Understand that some people seem really cool and they're not. And that's not your fault. It just has to do with some people that like to hide who they really are. So always trust, but with caution. And always be nice to other people. Because like the only thing that you leave behind when you leave this world is how you treated other people and the message and the love that you leave behind. So to me, that's incredibly important, is that everybody knows that they're loved.
I really think, I also think it's telling to me that the first question on a My Hero Academia panel was something like that, because I think that this what makes this show special. And I see this, I mean, I learned this mostly from you guys and traveling around and going to conventions, is that it brings out a certain something in people about that's deeper, that they want to have a real conversation about there, and I love that this show for that reason. So great question.
It's got a great message.
Thank you. Thanks for you.
And at the clap in the mic.
Who's next? Who's next?
You call, David.
I saw your hand up right at the very beginning.
With the One Piece.
Yeah, One Piece. Sorry,
One
right behind you. Sorry.
I can tell you guys all have great chemistry between each other, but the recording booths, like you're individual. What do you guys do, or how do you guys build that camaraderie that you show when you go to cons and people and stuff, when everything's so isolated when you're working?
That's why directors are, another reason why directors are
Yeah.
so important, because they have the master blueprint, and we're only seeing what our characters are involved in. Because a lot of times, I mean, obviously people can go look up stuff ahead of time if they want to, but I find as an actor, and also when I'm in a position where I'm directing other people, I prefer to not have people look ahead and try to read spoilers or to read the manga or anything like that. And I think a lot of us are encouraged as actors to not just live in the moment, have your director direct you so that you can discover things along with your character. And that way you don't go into the booth with any preconceived notions. You're not like, oh, I know in the manga, in the manga, my character had this like really intense scene, so I'm gonna plan it out. Like, no. Like, you need to be able to allow your director to direct you. And so if you can go in as a clean slate, it's easier for them to suggest your emotional state or to give you things to think about. So if we're doing a scene that's completely out of context and say it's really, really important for the camaraderie or the chemistry to be really present, we are an empty vessel, and so our director can spin circumstances for us to kind of get us into that. Or sometimes it's just as easy as, hey, so this actor is playing this other character, and we can immediately be like, oh my god, they're one of my best friends in real life. This is so easy. They're not here, but I can feel them, because I know, I mean, every time you think of someone, you have an emotional response, even if they're not there, depending on what kind of relationship you have with them. So I think that kind of stuff is helpful, and also just being an actor, you know? All the acting training helps get that into our bones, and because this job is very lonely and individual sometimes, and I wish we had a setup where we could all be in a room with microphones. Yeah.
We've done that before.
Really?
You don't.
Oh. Well, on paper it sounds good.
It sounds great. Yeah, at ADV we used to have, there were 4 booths actually. Because there was 2 booths in one room, and then there was another booth in another room, but they had a window that you could like pull the curtain open. And so we did a show called Go Danner way back in the day.
Oh, good.
Loved Go Danner, but that was the first time we tried doing multiple Go Danner.
Oh, I thought you said go nanner, and I just thought of like a banana being like, go nanner!
No, it was like a giant robot show, so they figured that would be the best place to try it out, because, you know, people always do the same call-outs and whatever, and we'd all be in the same room. Well, then we learned very quickly that people work at different speeds. And it was with a director, Matt Greenfield, who I love, but he's not very tactful sometimes, and his wife, Tiffany, had written the scripts and also was one of the other characters. And so they would bicker about the script while I'm in a booth and Brett Weaver's in a booth and somebody else, and it was like, oh, this is so awkward. I started tap dancing at one point, because I'm like, and at one point he's like, Tiffany, can you do it more like Monica? And I'm like, oh god. So yeah, we tried it, and then we stopped.
Okay, never mind. Scratch that from the record.
also, like, there's a camaraderie here because
Yeah.
most of us have known each other for a long time.
Right.
And even if we haven't known each other for that long, getting to come to conventions is that's where we get to sort of see each other and talk shop
Yeah.
a lot of times. And especially as things happen to us over the years and we, all of our careers morph and change. When I started coming back to conventions after I had my babies, I dropped out for about 5 years of convention work. And when I came back, Monica and Colleen were the people I was like, how do I even do this now? It's all different. Like, teach me. So those things, those ties are real.
Yeah.
That's real. And
Yeah.
this is where we get to actually do that and champion the shows that we get to be a part of and things like that.
I think especially this group though, because like I'm looking at all 4 of you and I'm like, there's so many roles that we played together, so many different relationships.
Yeah.
And I think that that's part of the chemistry is actually having chemistry and working with people and knowing how they're going to read. Because like if I'm in a show opposite David, I can almost hear his voice in my head, or
Yeah.
Lucy, or
Me
Josh,
too.
or
Yeah.
Alexis.
Yeah.
So it makes it much easier on your end because it's like, oh, if this is an actor I know, I can hear them and then I know how to respond. Whereas if it's somebody that's brand new, it's a lot harder because you don't know.
Well, and a lot of us have friendships outside of work, and like we'll spend time outside of work. Like Monica and I spent 4 hours at a bakery, and then I found out she was gluten intolerant. That's something I know now. And someone tried to enlist us into a cult while we were sitting outside eating our bread. It was great. So now we have that history, and it's like really important.
There's an awesome present mic here back there.
Yeah, I saw you guys just walk in.
Yeah,
There's a giant pillar. I can barely see you.
I think just to echo shortly, I think it's a combination of 3 things, the chemistry that's created. I think it's the director who's got, ideally is hearing the whole entire thing in their head so that when you're in there, they can direct you specifically as to the way they want it delivered, because they know that, Josh is going to come in and do it this way, or they're going to direct another actor in a certain way. So the directing is huge, and I think she also cast actors that know what it means to be truthful and have chemistry and all that stuff. So I think it's that. I really think it's about the actors that are in the show and the direction that's happening in the booth, definitely.
That's another reason why acting training is so important. A lot of people ask us all the time, like, how do I become a voice actor? And like that type of thing that we're talking about right now is be an actor first and study acting, because that's how you're able to keep up with the restrictions of this job and the fast-paced nature and things like that. So it is so important.
Yeah,
Cool.
true. That's true.
Yeah.
How about here? Glasses, yes ma'am. Oh, I'm sorry, there's another person with glasses right in front of you. We'll do both.
That one, yeah.
Yes, so go ahead and ask your question and we'll get the other one.
If you could voice any character from any anime ever, who would you voice?
Any anime ever, if we could voice. Just any bit part bandit character from the Slayers. This is old 90s show. Just so I could go out and be someone that Lena Inverse like, Dragon Slave, Team Rocket's blasting off again, ding, into the thing and be like, I was in Slayers. Even just that. I love that show so much.
Go ahead.
I just wish I was anybody in Cowboy Bebop. Anybody.
I always really wanted to do something in Sailor Moon. That would have been great. Just anything. But there's a show that, to my knowledge, was dubbed in German, but it was never dubbed in English. So there's still hope. It was called, the translation of the name is Phantom Thief Jean. It's like Kamikaze Kaito Jean. And it's in like a 90s anime, and I would love to be in that. And I've already cast the entire thing. I don't know if I'm the strongest choice for who I'd want to play, but I have very strong feelings about who I want everyone else to be played by.
Sounds like you should direct it.
Yeah.
We need to do like what they did with Skip Beat and do like a thing. I mean, even if I got to direct it, I'd settle for that honor, like that, that'd be awesome.
I think for me, my favorite anime movie, or one of my favorite anime movies, is Perfect Blue. It's super creepy, right? And I don't know why, but I love the dark stuff. But I love the dub. I think the dub is great, but I would have loved to have played Mima just because it's such a cool story.
Have you,
I got nothing.
note on that, have you watched that movie like within the last 5 or 10 years?
Yes, and it's terrifying.
Because that's the thing, I watched Perfect Blue before I became a voice actor, and then there was like a few years where I didn't watch it, and then like maybe halfway through my now 10-year career, I watched it again, and everything else was 10 times scarier. I was like, oh no. Oh, there's crossover now, and I don't like it!
I don't really have an answer. I'm sorry. I just like to work, so whatever anime anyone approaches me with, I'm like, this is the one that I want to do.
Do you want to hold the young lady behind?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
How do you all connect to your characters? Like, what's some traits that you have of your character?
Well, as you can see, I have a giant bird head.
I've been wanting to tell you that, but
You've been malting everywhere, it's really awkward.
I like how Ochako is very practical. And I have that in me.
My bedroom is also very dark and filled with some scary lots of swords everywhere.
I feel like May is a caricature of me when I've had too much caffeine. When I'm just like, oh my god, I didn't sleep last night, I gotta get through this day, and it's like coffee. But I also, I don't know, I'm working towards this, but like one of the things that I love most about her is that she really knows what she wants. And like she's gonna do it, and she knows what she wants, and she's not gonna settle for anything less. And like that's who I would like to be, to have that like strength of conviction, because I question and doubt myself a lot, and like she never does. So like that she's been an inspiration in that way. So that's been cool.
I'm not a frog.
I am so betrayed.
I know. I'm sorry, guys. I hate to break it to you. I will say I can't think of anything physically that we have in common. I used to have long hair. Sometimes I get congested. But as far as like with her friendships and stuff, like she is very motivated. She's very driven, and I am both of those things. But also, I think that her love of her friends, like the way she's kind of got the maternal vibe going on, you know? She's always concerned about what her friends are doing and whether they're making the right choices. And she's kind of the mom, the worrywart, and that's kind of what I do.
that scene where she's worried about like when she didn't participate in the dorms because she was worried. Man, anyway, I just rewatched that recently. I'm like, that's the sweetest thing ever. She's like, I just want to be able to be friends again and talk. I was like, yes.
So good.
This is how you know I love a show if I'm like totally into everyone else's characters.
That's right. That's true.
It's hard to answer that question for me without like, I mean, it's Todoroki, so it always gets a little bit deep, but like the way I can relate, I feel like he lives in his head a lot. There, you know, when you've got these forces that he sort of grew up with, he has like an internal life that he's in a conversation, I think a lot with himself, and that leads to sort of the being quiet, the assessing. So I can relate to that personally. I can relate to also holding myself to maybe standards or expectations that are really hard to meet. And then the sort of what comes from that is, you know, being too hard on yourself. So I feel like those are traits of him. It also in many ways makes him, you know, a great strategist and a good hero and a soldier, you know, all the things he's been trained to be, but it can be, I think, lonely and, you know, yeah. So I can relate to those things. I don't know how to.
You. Yes.
Look at the hockey player
Come
next
back
to
to
you.
you.
I know this is my favorite thing in panel, but I really have to ask David and Josh about like the last Attack on Titan.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
And just want to get like get your input on like especially like the last like 3 episodes.
He's delicious.
Oh, spoilers. So spoilers? Are you holding your ear because spoilers?
I haven't watched season 3 yet.
Okay, all right. So we probably shouldn't.
Yeah, probably should have read much more of it.
Um,
We did talk a little bit about, like, just not like any big spoilers or whatever, but like this season, we were talking about it yesterday a little bit, like just this entire last season for every single character has felt like, I think one of the best that they've put forth in that season, in this show so far, and just in terms of pacing, the character arcs all kind of coming to a close, and a lot of questions being answered and everything, and it's been a crazy ride, and it's been super cool to get to kind of play this, play off of that, the butting heads that we started off with, like near the end of in season 3.
Yeah, for me, like, no, go ahead.
Kind of like what we were talking about yesterday with the fact that we don't, like, sometimes it's hard to find characters where you really get to play both sides of the emotional spectrum.
Yeah.
And both Bertold and Armin, for both of us, I think, have been some of those characters where you, like, at some points we get to be that kind of big, you know, badass, over the top kind of, you know, anime characters, but in, especially when it comes to interactions with each other, we also get to play that more serious tone and the subtlety of it, and explore the darkness within both of those characters.
Yeah, for sure. I echo all of that. The only thing I'll add is there's a conflict there. You know, it's very, nothing's black or white. There's you know, you can't really say like this person is bad, and I mean you can make that choice, but if you're looking at the humanity of those and what they're up against, and the, you know, it left me with just sort of an unfinished kind of feeling of you know, what was the real story? You know, how did it really start and go down? Like, I want there to be something where they go back and do like serious backstories of people before they even got, you know, before the wall was breached, and you know, all of that. So yeah, it's there's a lot of feelings around it for me.
Sorry, you should read the manga.
You mean like read ahead in the manga?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Wait, what?
Do you?
No, I don't, but I will now, I think. This guy's had his hand up from the very beginning. So
Yeah,
third row right
the
there, yeah.
hockey dude
Yeah.
in the back. He keeps,
So,
hang on just a second. This guy first.
This guy,
then you.
and
Sorry.
then, yes.
what are some of your favorite shows just that you're not involved in, just like watching? Any anime or live action or cartoons? Just what you like to watch?
Oh, like just in general?
And anything? Oh, I love that.
Jeez.
Does it have to wait? So live action too, or just animated?
Yeah,
Live action.
Okay, live action
yeah. Man, so many.
I'm a
I know.
huge Disney nerd. Like, it's a sickness. It's a little bad. I also love horror movies, so I'm that person.
Have you enjoyed any of the most recent live action Disney?
You know, I am so far behind on new film. I got real hooked on the indie circuit for a while, so when I could make it to the movie theaters, I was seeing movies like The Favorite and movies like, you know, all these like indie movies that were happening. So I'm really behind, and I haven't seen any of the live action Disney yet, except I saw Beauty and the Beast when it came out. In terms of anime that I've enjoyed in the previous years that I wasn't a part of, Rurouni Kenshin was one of my favorites. And so when we got to, thank you, when we got to dub the live action films, and me and Micah Solasad got to play Kaoru and Kenshin, our director didn't know that we were huge closet nerds about that show, so he told me I was Kaoru, and I started doing what we call the happy pee-pee dance. And he was like, Micah did that same dance, I don't understand. And I'm like, you have two biggest Kenshin nerds, and that's all. Let's see. Oh my gosh, Hellsing was a really cool show. Yeah, a little upsetting at times, but it was good. There's so much good
Yeah,
stuff
there's so
out
much
there.
out
Gosh,
there.
there's so much out
I
there.
run, whenever I'm feeling stressed out, I run to the BBC.
Yeah.
I will watch any British baking show, or a show about midwives, or Downton Abbey, or any of that. Even there's this one called Miss Fisher's Murder Mysteries.
Oh my gosh, my mom
will
is
watch
obsessed
it
with that show.
all day long. Like, it calms me down. That was after I spent a whole month binging all of the Gilmore Girls, because that was, my husband even got me a Dragonfly Inn mug for Christmas.
Aww.
But anyway, I run to those kinds of things to like,
I'm all over the map. Like I love like HBO series. I love Big Little Lies. I love True Detective.
that book is awesome. You guys.
Yeah, True Detective is amazing. Stranger Things. But I'm a huge documentary film fan as well. Like docuseries. Like I'll try any documentary. There are some really not great ones, but there's some really great ones. Yeah, that's the thing. That's what pops. That's on top of my head.
I don't seek out new TV like the way that I used to when I was a kid. Like I guess the most recent thing that I've checked out is like 6 seasons into it by the time I joined is Letterkenny.
Oh yeah.
It's I've actually loved that show. I like to rewatch a lot of stuff I grew up that I really enjoyed growing up. So I'll binge watch like all of the old Star Trek stuff, Stargate SG-1,
MST3K.
MST3K, old cartoons and stuff like the Gargoyles and Disney Afternoon and stuff that I grew up with.
I love forensic science. I know, weird, right? So I go to sleep to Forensic Files every night.
Oh my God, me too! Yes! Wait, Peter Thomas, the narrator?
Peter Thomas is
best narrator ever.
Dude, you guys, this guy's voice is so great that he can be talking about, and then he walked into the room and murdered her, and you're like,
He's great. He's great.
It's the most macabre thing that I've heard.
it's amazing.
I love
them.
I feel way closer to you now. Yes.
Oh, right?
Yes.
Like, if anyone's staying in a hotel this weekend, it is always on. They're doing marathons of it in hotels.
Headline news, right? HLN.
Every single
HLN.
night, yeah.
HLN.
And then they put the entire series on Netflix, which
Yes,
is
I saw that. I know.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm telling you, for sleepy times.
You know what? I have to say this. Fleabag. Has anyone seen Fleabag?
Yes.
Dude, Fleabag is amazing. Talk about use of the camera, of breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah.
It's 2 seasons. It's unbelievable. Like, go, yeah.
I'm gonna put my little plug in because Ron fell in love with a show called Lucifer. Oh my God, I love it.
Okay.
I love it. And we got to meet the cast at one of the Comic-Cons. And it's the first time I've ever like went up to say hi to somebody and turned beet red, like just hi. Oh God. But yeah, it's a really great show. It's a lot of fun.
Cool.
Obviously, we love this question.
Yeah, let's talk about what we're nerdy about.
Oh yeah, hockey stick guy. Yeah.
Hockey boo.
All right, so there was just, after I heard it, I kind of had a curiosity pique. Monica, what would have your Minetta voice been?
So what's funny is both Brina and I went with the lisp for Minetta. But my Minetta was gonna be more like in this area. It's almost kind of like a male Suey, only with more drool. But I'm very happy to be best girl.
So we got 10 minutes. You want to try to do a lightning round?
Lightning round.
See
Yeah.
what
We'll
one.
answer quickly. Yes.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If you could change anything about this show, what would you?
If I could change anything about the show, what would I change?
So you would be the lead.
You're asking a bunch of actors. They're like, more of my character.
right.
More revelry, more darkness.
I don't know that I would change.
I know. Yeah, that's tough.
You just want to be in it more. That's
Yeah. So you've got the two that get all the screen time, and then the rest of us, they're like, we would like to be on screen more.
I also think it would be really funny if they found out that May was also making like things for the bad guys, and then she's like, "What?
Equal opportunity.
Like, money is not partial. I'm sorry." Like, just playing both sides. And
Oh, wait just a moment, because you already asked one. Let me find you.
Favorite meme?
Favorite meme?
Oh,
Doge. Doge was my favorite for the longest time. Such panel, very questions. Wow.
It's 3 rounds.
my assistant just made me she does the needlepoint stuff, and it's of my favorite meme, which is the possum that's screaming at his own. I don't know why it says, you know, he's sweet, he has class, but he's screaming on.
Yeah.
I love it.
Rock on. All right, another question.
Okay, what are the most interesting facts you found out about your character during the show?
Apparently, his feathers are not actually feathers; they're hair.
I don't like that.
I don't like that either. It makes me very uncomfortable. Is it a mullet? Did he style it? And like, it's just like.
So he's like a bird dog.
someone make Make fan art now.
The
He does
fact,
not need to look like a 90s grunge singer.
no, I just found out, I remember when I found out that of the recommended students, that I wasn't the top one, I didn't get the top score, the Totoro didn't get the top score. It was, I forget the character's name, the big guy. Yeah, I was like, oh, whoa, okay. I'm threatened here.
In one of the early scenes, Sue, you said something about regurgitating her entire stomach contents and stuff. I want to see that.
Yeah.
I want to voice
We
the-
need like a 3-episode arc on that.
Yes.
5 minutes. All right, we'll go fast.
All right.
You guys spit, because I suck at it.
Yes, ma'am. Like, we're gonna try to make sure everybody who's not asked a question
What's your
gets it.
guys' favorite line?
Revelry in the dark.
My favorite is when she's talking to Bakugo and he's throwing a fit and she goes, oh, with that attitude, you'll never be popular.
Mine is Deku. What are you, All Might's love child?
Early on, I think Aoyama was trying to get close to Ochako or something, and he was like, I'll be here for you, Moshori, or whatever. And she's just like, who are you again?
Your name?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. Everything May says is just she's constantly like getting in people's faces and talking too loud. So I think it was something where they're like, we've met you before, and she's like, never heard of you. I gotta go work on things. Bye.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay.
Somebody else question.
Mario! Luigi! Luigi! Sorry, y'all haven't played Mario since Super NES. Give a girl a break. Oh, gosh.
What would you say was your more vulgar role? I appreciate you or stalking anarchy?
Which one was more fun?
Vulgar.
Vulgar?
For the record, I think that in a good way.
I'd say that stalking is definitely most vulgar in that respect, but then Anna from Shimonetta and Momoko from Ghost Stories would be right behind. Does anybody else have a question that we can get real quick? You guys want to
Super quick.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, let's get someone in the very.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I called everybody. I'm sorry.
You guys do an all-night impression.
As our characters, or just as trying to do all my.
Trying to do all my. Okay.
Greetings, citizens.
Because I am here. Hello, I am here.
How are you doing, Dave?
Oh.
Hello, I am here.
And Salmon is so out of the zone.
Is that time? Yeah, I think we're gonna. Sorry, man. Sorry we didn't get to your question.
Sorry.
Real quick, why don't we tell everybody what other panels we have?
Yes.
Oh, hang out.
Yeah, so we're signing at our tables throughout the weekend, so definitely come see us. I've got a panel tomorrow that's just me at 5, and then we're all on a panel together tomorrow at 7. What else do you guys have?
1 o'clock Q&A for me, and then also the 7 o'clock one. I'm not sure what routes. But
Yeah.
signing and all that stuff.
We'll all be signing. We'll all be signing at 3:30 today for sure. That's the official thing. I will have a Q&A at 5:30 today.
Right, and you can then stay. I have a Q&A right after that at 6:30.
Ah, perfect.
If you can't make any of those, but you want a chance to either ask some questions or come and get an autograph or something, we all have our own tables as well in the dealer's
Right.
room, and we'll try
That's
to be
right.
there during off time as well. So if
And
you
my
can't make any
Q&A
of the other events, feel free to come by there.
My Q&A's at 11 tomorrow. Good morning. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
But yeah, definitely come up if you have any questions. Feel free to come up and say hi.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys so
This is
much.
awesome.